September 29th here in southern Ontario. As always, hello again. I was just wondering, in the perhaps not so distant future, but in the future, I'm envisioning some university class. It's, I don't know what it's entitled. Socio-political economic studies, lessons to be learned from our past. They're talking about how the Trudeau era took Canada from being what it was to where it's now headed. Excuse me. So, student in the back puts their hand up and says, "Hey, prof, I don't get it. Looking at my notes here. How did he ever get in the first place? I mean, what education he had consisted of creative basket weaving at a community college. The only sort of real job he ever held was at a very affluent, it was in West Vancouver actually, which at the time, and maybe still, is the most affluent suburb in Canada. So he's at this rich school, and in one semester he gets the boot for, at 24 years of age, having sexual relations with a 14-year-old child. The only way he didn't come up on criminal charges, anybody else would have, is because, Daddy's rich trust fund money, he coughed up 2.4 or 5 million bucks, whatever it was, to buy his way out of that jam. She's looking at her notes. She's going, he got voted in on a haircut and a pot. Maybe that's sort of understandable. Then he got voted back in. And in his first term, it says here 4 years, he took the country from being in a pretty solid financial situation. The deficit wasn't unfathomable, unimaginable. Compared to the other countries, comparable countries at the time, given the global economic situation, Canada wasn't really hurting. It was doing pretty good. All kinds of resources, underpopulated. Again, with a deficit that was easily surmountable. And they voted him back in. And as well, in his first term, he took the country from being in a stable financial position to rack and ruin by throwing money around with wild, unprecedented abandonment. Apparently, some of it was to try and buy a UN seat. There was obvious corruption and graft on an unprecedented level as far as the amounts of money went. Why did they ever vote him back in? Well, the professor says that is a good question, young lady, and a very difficult one to answer with full understanding, because, of course, it defies understanding. However, that was the Trudeau era, as it's now referred to. The term sheeples became popular in lexicon, became part of the vocabulary during that era. And there are some parallels between Trudeau and Hitler. Unpopular little social misfit. Trudeau was rich, a trust fund baby. Hitler wasn't. But if we look back at that time period and compare Trudeau's operating modus operandi, whatever it may be, the way he operated, parallels were to Hitler's rise. Well, we discussed that last week. They were dead in line, weren't they? So yeah, that's a future university class, little 10-minute clip. Yeah, we're living in some fascinating times right now, aren't we? It's a shame. what's happening in this country, and it's frightening. As always, take care, people. Good luck to us all.